You gotta love it, man. D. Lee, still in T-Town. Guy loves Tuscaloosa. He's never leaving, man. He's never freaking leaving.
Being and welcome into Touchdown Live. As always, I am Matthew Travis.
And Jones certainly has a lot of chemistry here with Hereford. Goes to McGinn.
McMillon is Smith in the tackle for Alabama.
The M3 show.
It's not always good for the quarterback on the other side to be talking stuff so early in the game.
Look, I don't have a kid on the way this week, but it's almost time for Alabama football season, baby.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the M3 Show, episode 10 of the M3 Show. We've got a good one today. Alabama comes out victorious on the road at Williams-Brice Stadium, 29-22 over South Carolina, and it was an ugly game. It did not look good for a majority of the game. People were coming out of their foxholes saying another Kalen DeBoer coached team that struggled to get up for a lesser opponent. But Alabama managed to eke out the win. Josh, that was a wild game, a big game defensively. Obviously, that forced fumble at the end there was the reason Alabama was able to win. Just bring me through the emotions going on in the McMillon house watching that South Carolina game.
I mean, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. Like going into the half, we were tied. I'm like, what is really going on? And then, we're going into the fourth quarter. We're down. I was just like, is this the game that we're gonna lose? Like, I mean, I know last year we played South Carolina and we struggled, but like this one was even closer than that matchup last year. So just really just struggling and thinking to myself like, this cannot happen. This really can't happen. And Dante Lawson came up with the strip late in the game and really saved the whole game. So. It was a lot of up and downs. I love that they found a way to finish and be able to get a dub in a hostile environment. So kudos to those guys. Need a lot of improvements, but really like the dub.
And Mac, just a wild game. We talked a lot. I was talking earlier in the season that South Carolina was one of those teams you had to watch. Williams-Brice, a very hostile environment. What was going through your mind at the end of the fourth quarter? We go down, score, get the fumble, and then Jeremy Bernard gets a game-winning touchdown.
Look, I can talk about my mind in the fourth quarter, but I want to talk about the whole entire game as a whole. I never gave up hope. I never stopped believing. I was at a bar in Nashville watching with some buddies, all Alabama grads, and everyone at the table we're chalked, we're toast, we're done. We just kept on pouring the drinks. They were downing shots, saying that it was over for the Tide. There was never one doubt for me that it was over. I never thought it was over. I really didn't. I thought that, we've been, there's a word I've said all year, resilience. I say this word every single time now on this podcast, and it is what this team has been able to do, is especially Ty Simpson being a leader of the team, is being resilient. But the Alabama defense coming through at the very end of the game, I mean, people were going nuts. I was a little bit nervous and excited, but it was fun to see the team come back and do what they do in a high pressured situation. I think it's it's a pretty great case scenario because we didn't have a loss. The Tide didn't have a loss here. And so, but they got all of the kind of feelings and the mistakes and everything out of the way that you would get and learn from a loss. And so looking at it, like overall, I'm not like excited it was close, but I'm like, dang, I think this is probably pretty great this happened the way it did because we didn't have to suffer the loss. And then the guys go on and they learn from it without having to have, another loss on our record for the year. But it was pretty dang exciting. I was pumped the whole time, and I knew that Alabama was going to find a way.
Yeah, listen, especially with the new college football playoff, you're not going to get through a season unblemished. It's not the old, especially not the old BCS where you can just go through and finish the season 13-0. There have been very few undefeated national champions. Alabama, since the start of the college football playoff, Alabama obviously did it in the COVID-shortened 20 season. LSU did it in 2019. Clemson did it when they beat us in 2018. Don't want to bring up any sore memories for you guys there. I'm sure we could do a whole episode on that game, but especially nowadays, it's just not going to happen. Ohio State won the national title with 2 losses last year. And you're gonna go through these games, and for Alabama to eke out that win and avoid what would have been their second loss is massive. And like you said right there, Mac, we learned as much as we would have from a loss as we did in this game because for a while there it looked like we were gonna lose. I was blowing the group chat up. I didn't know what was going on that final drive when we went down to tie it up. We had all three timeouts, thankfully, but that drive took 7 minutes, over 7 minutes for us to score. We
Yeah.
were letting the play clock go down to 10 seconds every single play, and I was terrified that we weren't going to get the 2 point conversion. And in turn, we were essentially just going to be sitting ducks and we were going to be screwed because South Carolina would have run the clock out had we not gotten the onside kick. I was terrified of that scenario. Thank God the trick play, one of the ballsiest calls I've ever seen in that
Yeah.
scenario for the 2 point conversion, ended up working. Alabama ties it up, forces the fumble, gets the ball back. But Josh, I mean, a lot of missed tackles. Thankfully, the rush defense, we've talked about the rush defense all year. Aside from Lenora Sellers, who had 67 yards on the ground, the rush defense looked a lot better, held South Carolina to 111 yards overall, 67 of those coming from their quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I think we always when the University of Alabama always plays a very mobile quarterback, we struggle, and there's no surprise there. I mean, some of the plays just break down, and Lenore was able to make plays with his legs. So you have to give props where props are due. He was able to extend plays, and that kind of forced Alabama's defense to look a bit out of whack, and not really making those tackles in space that they're supposed to. So you know when he's been able to extend plays, those guys really get blowed, and you can really tell when those drives really extend how tired those guys really are. So I really like how we were able to capitalize on some things, make some turnovers, being able to face adversity and make big plays, even though when we're down. So I really like that, and I really like where these guys are going. Still, rush defense is a big up, but missed tackles are really something that we're going to need later on in the season. So, always areas for improvement. They're still doing it. They're still getting their turnovers, making big plays, getting sacks. I love it. I love what Womack is doing and the way he's training these guys. We're going to need it big in this season.
Mac on the inverse. The rush offense struggled again. 72 yards on the ground, 23 carries. Jem Miller struggled again, 10 yards, or excuse me, 10 carries for 26 yards. A lot of it was the offensive line. South Carolina has a very, very good defense, and they were giving Alabama everything they could handle and then some.
Yeah, I would say we started off the offense like weirdly slow, and like we talked about it, like we weren't giving the defense enough time. That was what I was fearful of at the beginning of the game, is it was a close game, and like it reminded me a little bit of the year we played Clemson in the national championship, my freshman year. Um, you know, our offense was great. We had a bunch of power players, but we weren't keeping them we weren't on the field long, and the defense was getting exhausted and tired. We ended up losing the game at the end on that crazy pick play. Uh, and so I was looking at this game and I'm like, dang, the defense is gonna get tired. It's three and out. It's three and out, three and out, punt, punt, punt. And it's like, what are we doing? And I think you kind of nailed the put the nail on the head or whatever, the hammer on the nail, whatever the thing is. You made the point
Hammering
there.
it.
You made the point there that the offensive line, for whatever reason, I would love to have, maybe we'll get an offensive lineman on here at some point. That's what we should do, because I would love to get in deep dive into what the issues could be. I think, looking at it from the outside, we have the ability sometimes to pass. We have our pass pro is pretty good for the most part. It didn't look good in the first half. Ty had a lot of pressure, and it ended up him not having his best first half. Um, and then on the run side of things, we've talked about this before, especially with Christian on, is like the guys can pass pro sometimes pretty well, but for these running backs to have a hole, they've got to make the room. You can't just sit there and hold a guy. You've got to go push him back, push his ass back, make a hole so that your running back is able to go through. We put a lot of pressure. We have an incredible backfield. Like, our running backs are incredible. They're just not getting these lanes to run through to be able to get us yardage. And that's causing us to not have the balance we need. And then putting the pressure on the pass game. And we put so much pressure on the pass game, we can't just perform 100% all the time. There's so many different variables that go into that. So first half we didn't look great, but what I love to see again is the resilience and being able to come back and face adversity in the second half, make catches when they mattered, and make plays when they mattered. I just wish we saw that same clicking offense happen in the first half rather than in the last minutes of the game. Overall, just glad that they came out with a win, but yeah, the offensive line stuff in the run game, it's just got to be something we got to get addressed. We got to stay balanced and we got to keep the offense on the field longer because the defense, thankfully in this game, saved the game. If we didn't have those momentum changes from the defense, then who knows what we'd be looking at that score. They played a vital role, and it was good that they kind of picked up the slack the offense had in the first half. But overall, just hey, we made it out alive.
Yeah, and the offensive line not holding up their end of the bargain for the rush game, but also there were so many points where pocket just collapsed immediately. And Ty wasn't great. He missed a lot of throws, especially on third down that he should have made. There was one that would have been a walk-in touchdown for Jeremy Bernard, and he just overthrew him slightly. And that was one of the few times that he had a clean pocket and all the time in the world to throw it. But Ty struggled too. I think it was his worst game we've seen to date, but he did enough. He was 24 for 43, 253 yards and two touchdowns. And I don't know if you guys saw the video of after the game winning touchdown, he went right in front of Jeremy, right in front of
Yeah.
the camera. That was hilarious. It's awesome to see, but yeah, a rough game from him. Offensive line not doing him any favors, and at times wide receivers not doing him any favors. That fourth down, Ryan Williams, big drop right there. And then South Carolina, first play of their drive, 54-yard touchdown. So a big swing right there, and just nothing was clicking. And Mac, I know you love the Krispy Kreme package. I know you love Caden Proctor, but I hated how we use it right there. Offense wasn't doing anything, and I guess the thought is offense isn't doing anything. Let's change it up, try and get him in. Second down on the 3-yard line, goal to go. But teams expect it now. They just chopped him like I think it was Christian said, chop his ass like a tree, and they did exactly that. They went right at his feet and no gain, and that could have screwed us.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we scored, but is it time to do away with the Caden Proctor antics on offense?
Look, one thing on offense that I forgot to mention, and I'll get back to the Caden Proctor point,
Daniel
was
Hill.
I guess it was Josh. Was it Josh Cuevas? Is that how you say his last
Uh-huh.
name? I just
Yeah.
want to say when the offense wasn't clicking, he was kind of starting to click. I haven't
Yeah.
seen so much from him this season, but like I know he's obviously done a good job. Just that's tight ends are usually not a flashy guy who's getting the ball a ton, but he did a great job. He showed up when it mattered, and I was really like happy to see that because that's progress. Back to the Caden Proctor stuff. I hate it because maybe the Heisman run is over. Unfortunately, teams are gonna pick up on it, and I think it's exciting. We talked about it. Is it a thing that can just get we're just going to get predictable? And I think we've come to see that it has. What I like that is still there, and we saw it late in the game, is the creative offensive play calling. It doesn't necessarily have to be Caden Proctor. Do I want Caden Proctor to get the ball and get in the end zone? Hell yeah, everyone does. But it's like, can we utilize someone else? Can we do different things? I think we have to move on from the predictability of using just him for certain downs. And I like what we did at the end of the game. Mix it up a little bit. Keep people guessing. I love that. But the Caden Proctor Heisman campaign may start to slow down a little bit here because I don't know if teams are starting to pick up, and I don't know what else you can do with the guy. But I guess you could put him at quarterback and get him to throw the ball. It would be an interesting next move, and that'd be a little
Little
bit
tush push with
unpredictable.
him.
Maybe a tush push too. Who knows? There's a couple of different things maybe they can do to keep that campaign going, but otherwise, I think it sucked. It's like the first time it didn't work.
Yeah.
And you kind of getting that sense that maybe teams are picking up on it too much.
And Josh, you said a name right there. We talk about him every single week, and
Yeah.
every single week it seems like he continues to improve. That name, of course, being Daniel Hill. 3 carries, 4 receptions, 86 all-purpose yards. We were struggling in the first half. He was not. He had a
Yeah.
really solid first half. Seemed to be the only really player that was playing well aside from Josh Cuevas, like Mac mentioned. But what did you see out of Daniel Hill? He continues to improve week in and week out.
I mean, you slowly see him emerging into this new role. He's looking like that pretty dominant backup to Jam. Like in crucial moments when Ty Simpson needed an outlet, he was there. And then not only did he make the pass, well, make the catch, he extended the play. And those are the plays that we need in those moments to really get the offense going. Like he was the outlet that Ty needed and basically, made big plays for this team. And I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. He runs hard when he's in on run plays, has very soft hands for a running back. I mean, he's been outstanding. And I think we're going to see a lot more of him later on in this season and him being a key element in these guys winning and getting the things going that we need to get going on the offensive side. So
Yeah, and
kudos to him.
especially, yeah.
I love it. I really do love it.
Yeah, especially with Jam struggling, whether that be injury related with the concussion he suffered against Missouri or whatever it might be. With Jam struggling, someone's got to step up for that lack of running explosiveness we've seen lately. And I think that man could be Daniel Hill, but that man could also be Jeremy Bernard. He continues to just be a force for Alabama. Yet again, 5 receptions, 3 carries, 77 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns. Of course, one of those being the game-winning touchdown right there. But Mac, week in and week out, coming into the season, Ryan Williams was the name everyone was talking about, and for good reason. Another good game, a solid game other than the drop from him. But Jeremy Bernard has been phenomenal, and I think he deserves to be getting some more national hype than he has been.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I told the like at the table at the bar, people are like, "What should we do here? What should we do here?" I'm like, "We got to get the ball to Jeremy Bernard. He shows up every single time when it matters. He's reliable, dependable. He's not necessarily a super flashy player. I don't think he can do what Ryan can do when Ryan just gets the ball in open space and open field. Um, but he's like if you compared it to basketball, that solid three who always shows up and has great games, that's him. Like he's the guy you want to just go to when the pressure's on, when the moment's big. Like you got to go to Jeremy Bernard. Also, side note, shout out. I thought it was awesome that they did a no matter what anyone's like religious beliefs are, but a what was it called? I forget what it was called, but they did like a Christian event at the University of Alabama Stadium. Bernard, Ty Simpson, as well as others. And I was like, maybe the timing of this, did they just happen to do this after they inched out a win against South Carolina? They needed a little bit of the Lord in their lives. Maybe so. Regardless, I was happy to see that and him be a leader and step up on campus on and off the field.
Yeah, and moving on, our good, bad, and ugly segment, as always. Mac, you request week in and week out. You're the positive man on this podcast. You get the good again this week. What was the best thing you saw to Alabama in the win over South Carolina?
Yeah, I would say that the number one thing was the forced fumble at the end of the game. We all talked about that. That was, I mean, it saved the game for the University of Alabama. And then to top it off, Jeremy Bernard, the guy we keep bringing up with a game, ceiling touchdown. Like he just shows up every freaking time. So that was the good. And then overall, the good, just the ability of Alabama to bounce back, to remain calm, and to sneak out with a W when they didn't have a great first half.
Absolutely. And the bad, I touched on it just, and unfortunately, he continues to pop up in this despite solid games, 7 receptions, 72 yards. But that drop from Ryan Williams was such a crucial point in the game, and it ended up being it could have been a deciding factor in the game. He drops that South Carolina first play 54-yard touchdown, completely swung the momentum right there. If he catches that, Alabama scores on that drive. You go up what 21? I believe it was 21-6 at the time. That takes all of the air out of that stadium. First drive of the second half, and I think you cruise to a win from that point. He drops it. South Carolina gets the touchdown, 14-12, and now it's a game. So just I don't know what's going on. We talked about it with Slade. Mac has talked about it as well. I just don't understand the drops in such crucial moments. It happened against Georgia. It happened against what was it ULM, the drop touchdown that game, whenever that was. It just continues to happen. So I just would love to see him come out of the bye week and hopefully put that in the past. So that's the bad for this week. And Josh, you Carolina.
So, I'm definitely evaluating the defense really hard. So definitely gonna hit on those missed tackles. Like it's just unacceptable. And trust me, I get it. We only had possession of the ball for 28 minutes. I think that's the all-time low this year. So, some of those drives being extended and the offense constantly having three and outs, it really it gets those guys tired. So, regardless of that, you still have to come up and make formal tackles and get these guys on the ground and be able to put the offensive team in a successful situation. So just really, really would like for those things to become better and help this defense get back to where they're supposed to be.
Matthew, I would follow up just saying that, like, you know, it was better. The rush defense was better, but I brought up the mixed tackles before this. Like, I rewatched the game today, and it's like we got to get back to the basics on defense. Like, it's just a wrap up. It's not that we're not there. We're there almost every single time. The first guy gets, whoever is, if it was Lenore Sellers, they got him, whether it's in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. But it's like they can't hold on to him. There's something, whether it's with their form that they're using, or they're trying to go for a big blow. I don't know really what it is on the defensive side, but it's like we're allowing way too much yak. Like yards after contact is crazy. I would love to see like the percentage of yak we give up weekly, because that's not what Alabama's been in the past, and I think they've got to just clean it up. Yeah, Christian, who's on the back end, message in trying to force turnovers. Great point. I think you see that. I literally remembered watching a play and I saw a guy trying to punch out the ball instead of make the tackle. It's great. I almost, my defensive method would just get everybody to learn how to force turnovers 24/7 if I was the coach, and then hope to God that they don't get a good play. But I'm not a coach for that reason. But Alabama, it's like you either got to be able to force the turnover or you got to be able to make the tackle. And it's most of the time it's going to be difficult to force a turnover every single play. So I think these guys have just got to freaking wrap the heck up, dude. It's got to get back to the basic standard tackling.
Yeah, and some final thoughts, and we'll move on to our interview with Donnie, and then of course our picks coming up here in a little while. But Alabama won, and Nick Saban used to get on reporters in the press conference that after a close win, that they would all be down in the dumps and asking what went wrong, and Nick Saban would simply put it back on them, saying it's tough to win in the SEC, especially in South Carolina. I believe, I know Josh has, I believe both of you have been to Williams-Brice Stadium. I've talked about it several times. It's one of the tougher environments in the SEC. And to deal with that when they look like they're going to win for most of the second half, the entire second half, and be able to come out of that environment with a win, I think is at the end of the day a positive. My brother went to South Carolina, so I was just so glad I don't have to deal with him talking about beating Alabama until the next time we play. I've been to the last two Alabama South Carolina games with him, and they were brutal. So thank God I don't have to deal with that. But putting a bow on it, we won. Alabama won. Bye week is coming at a good time. We now prepare for a team who just fired their head coach, so it'll be an interesting bye week. LSU, of course, firing Brian Kelly. Frank Wilson, the interim head coach, former head coach at McNeese, where I worked for a couple of years. We'll dive into all of that next week. But before we wrap up Alabama, South Carolina, also want to give a shout out to Justin Jefferson. He had a massive hit there in the first half, had a sack, had 1.5 tackles for loss. Solid game out of him. But Josh, just some parting thoughts on the Alabama win over South Carolina.
Um, it's bye week. So, definitely a week to recover, get things back on the right track. Let's get down to the fundamentals. Definitely gonna have to get back to the drawing board on the tackling and the turnovers and being able to play physical football at a very high level all the time throughout the game, no matter what type of adversity that you're going to be faced with or what's going on in the game. We're constantly, consistently showing resiliency, which I love, but it's time to prepare for that next run. So definitely getting back to the fundamentals and principles of that Alabama standard and getting these guys on the right track to ultimately compete and win for a national championship.
And Mac?
Look, we got the W. You know what I'm saying? Well, it wasn't pretty, but we got it, and that's what matters. So I'm as excited to get that Alabama got that W was hyped because I think that again it was the a good scenario for us being able to get a W that wasn't pretty. You get the ability to learn from the mistakes like you would in a loss. Hopefully they did learn from it. Hopefully they do learn from it and make those corrections and changes and pivot us to have a great rest of the season.
No doubt. So again, Alabama heads into the bye week. 7-1, excuse me, 5-0 in SEC play. Out of the bye week, they will welcome LSU without a head coach into Bryant-Denny Stadium. Donnie Lee, former Alabama football player, kind enough to join us. We talk to him next. And we are now joined by former Alabama wide receiver Donnie Lee. Donnie, you're still in Tuscaloosa. You're running the lab. We've gone way back. All three of us have known you for quite a while. I met you when the lab opened, and I was there working for WVUA interviewing you. And I actually did a story with you and Mac when NIL got started. So kind of a full circle moment for me. But I appreciate you hopping on and joining us.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate y'all's time, man. Excited to chop it up with some good friends once again.
Absolutely. And I touched on it that now what you're doing now is pretty awesome. You've worked with a lot of high profile athletes. You continue to work with a lot of high profile athletes. Just tell us about what you're doing now with the lab and how you've been able to train young athletes.
Sure, man. So, obviously, a lot of things have changed for better or for worse since we first connected, Matt. A lot of things have changed since Josh Mack and I were in the trenches back at Bama, man. But the mission still remains the same, right? And that's using sport as a vehicle to bring the youth closer to God. And so we're still committed to that aspect. Still doing the training. I'm not as involved in the day-to-day training as I used to be when we initially launched. We have a team of great trainers, great coaches. We talked earlier. Nalu Tungavailoa, to his father, he and I are partnering together. He trains all of our quarterbacks. Trent Seaborn was one of our quarterbacks, just committed to Alabama last week. On the linebacker side, Reuben Foster has been working with all of our linebackers virtually. So he's obviously based in DMV, but he's been working with our athletes at a national scale as well. We've had tremendous success in the training space. Obviously, Kevin Riley was one of our first guys. He was there at the lab actually when you came. He was just a ninth grade at the time, and now he's in the rotation as a running back at Alabama. And so God has been good. We've really focused on vertically integrating the athletes and helping them at the next level, whether that's vetting agents, connecting them with the right NIL management, things of that nature. Like I was talking with Josh about, we're doing the Athletes Inc. software now as well, where we're extrapolating data, qualitative data for college programs to get a better understanding of who their team, like who their recruits are, what their cerebral approach to the game is, whether they're kinetic or auditory learners, and then repurposing that data so the coaches have a better understanding of who that player is, not only on the field but off the field as well.
Dude, you gotta love it, man. D Lee. Still in T-Town. Guy loves Tuscaloosa. He's never leaving, man. He's never freaking leaving. Donnie, it's awesome. I know obviously when you were first getting going with everything, like right after, I think I was when you started doing it, I think I was still at Bama. And remember talking to you about it, and it's cool to see it grow to fruition. And it's like, I guess one of the things that I'm curious is what would you say is the number one thing, or whether it's a couple of things that you really hold on to that helped you create and build the lab that made it so successful? Like, was it something from Coach Saban? Was it something from Coach Cochran? What are, like, if there's a thing you remember one or the other saying to you that had an impact that is the way you run your business and your group today?
I would say, man, the main thing is proverbial as it sounds, and it can kind of reach a point of redundancy, but the process, and just approaching the process as methodically as possible, recognizing that you got to pay rent every single day. I know Jay Hertz is the king of proverbs. He's gone viral for that, but that's one of the ones that I love for him. I love that he came up with, man. Like, you got to pay your rent every single day if you want to be successful. The older I've gotten, in conversations with B-Side 5 guys, I think we all recognize that Coach Saban wasn't teaching us. He wasn't teaching us football. He wasn't coaching football. He was teaching us methodical processes and systems that transcend the field of play. So whether it's as an attorney, whether it's as a venture capitalist, whether it's as an entrepreneur, these processes remain the same, right? And so in the same capacity that, Mac, one of the things that I always had a great deal of respect from you with is that you would you would seek knowledge, right? Like you would say, hey, Donnie, how do I improve at this? In the same way that we would go to Calvin and say, hey, how do we do this? We might go to a Derek Keefe and say, man, your comeback dig route is unguardable. Can you teach me that, right? And so surrounding myself with the equivalents of Calvin Ridley, the equivalents of a Mac Jones, right, of a Josh McMillon, like surrounding ourselves with people like that, so that we can improve and get to that next level. So I would say just the importance of the process, and understanding that a rising tide lifts all ships, right? Like, I think one of the things that's counterintuitive about Alabama, I think one of the things that's counterintuitive about Alabama during our time period there is that everybody supported everybody. Like I remember getting there and it's like, yeah, like our Darius Stewart, you look at him as competition, but he's the main person trying to help you learn the playbook, and you guys are competing for the same job. And I think man, that's one of the biggest things that I've taken, just that competitive integrity in the process.
That's
No
badass.
doubt.
And sorry, go ahead, Matthew.
No, you're good, Matt. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then too, I know that you've been working a little bit with Coach Cochran, who we've talked about on the podcast a couple of times. Everyone's extremely proud. I stay in touch with Coch, and just seeing him have the success he's had, all of us, I think, on this in this group, especially the B5 guys, would definitely say that he's going to continue to blow up, and he's going to be a head coach and dominate at the Division I level in a certain bit of time. But curious to know, talking about on his side of things, what was something from Coach Cochran that you took that, whether it was a quote, whether it was a story or something, how he impacted you, that helped form you to be who you are today?
Man, you just brought up a crazy little anecdotal memory. Uh, so Cochran and I talk probably once a week now. Uh, Cochran is someone that I have a tremendous amount of love and respect for. And one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older is that the people that truly love you are going to tell you things that you might not always be receptive to in the moment. And you might not understand why they're saying what they're saying, and for what reasons. But when people truly love you down the road, it'll reveal itself. And man, Coach Cochran and I butted heads a good bit when I was at Bama, but I realized it's because he loved me, and I think that we had so many similarities. It's almost like my relationship with my dad. Where like now that I'm older, I'm like, dang, like I see now why my dad and I butted heads in this regard, because we have very similar ideologies, very similar competitive integrities, and so Coach Cochran walked up to me during a fall camp practice, my last year, just maybe like 2 weeks before I tore my ACL, and he tapped me on the butt and he whispered to me so nobody else could hear it, but he says, "You have one opportunity that you've earned for yourself, but if you fail, your ass will be working for me for the rest of your life." And I remember looking at him and saying, "Well, we know I damn sure don't want that." And I went back to work. And it was crazy because in that moment, obviously he was joking, but it's real, right? That there's a statute of limitations on that opportunity that we had from a playing perspective. Again, the ideologies and the principles that Saban and Cochran and the entire staff has taught us transcends football. But from a football perspective alone, there's a statute of limitations of how long you can apply it to this specific niche. And hearing him say that, man, it really lit a fire underneath me. Recognizing like there is a shot clock, having that sense of urgency, recognizing this doesn't last forever, recognizing that this is a privilege, and if you don't execute with this opportunity right now, you're gonna lose it. Obviously, working for Coach Cochran isn't a terrible career. Obviously, a lot of our old B-Sci-Fi guys are now doing that as well, and I'm proud of them. I'm extremely happy for them. But man, that was probably one of the biggest things, man. Coach Cochran, he really impacted my life just with those type of small conversations. He was one of the ones that just always kept it real with me, let me know where I stood on the depth chart, what I need to do to improve. I mean, you guys know Cochran was our head coach for several months during the offseason when Coach Saban couldn't even talk to us. And so that relationship, but it also showed me the importance of being there for athletes beyond their ability or their lack thereof, right? Like Coach Cochran is somebody that's going to talk to you whether you're starting or whether you've gotten a torn ACL, right? He's going to treat you the same no matter what. And that's something I really pride myself on with the kids that God has blessed me to mentor and to teach them from the myriad of mistakes that I made. So a lot of love for Coach Cochran. We're trying to keep that pipeline going. We got a couple guys that are at West Al now and trying to keep more guys going as well.
That's freaking
Yeah.
great. You got me fired up. Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, you kind of touched on rents due every day, and a lot of what you took from Saban. But how cool is it now mentoring these kids and taking those teachings that you took from Coach Saban and the other coaches and applying that and seeing them be receptive, partially because of your resume and the fact that you played at football at Alabama, you ran track and field, and you have this resume and you're able to help them. You were just in Vanderbilt on a visit. You've been all over the place on visits with your athletes as well.
Man, I think just being transparent, it positions us to explain to them like the business aspect of the game, right? So we grow up. Some of us started playing football as early as 4 years old, and we're playing a game. But eventually, that game kind of transcends into a business, and getting the athletes to understand that there is a transactional aspect to this, and not to take things personal. So, like, I've shared with Herf before. I've shared with Josh before. Like there is a point in my life when I tore my ACL. I remember walking through the hallways at Alabama, and the guys who've been in the facility know that the doors are bulletproof. Like it's a safe place in case something were to happen on campus. And so the doors are extremely heavy. And so if you're on crutches, it's very difficult to open those type of doors. And I remember struggling to open a door one time, and Coach Saban said we're walking through, and they were so focused that I don't even think they noticed that I was getting beat up by the door. And in the moment, I took it like emotional. I was like, nobody cares about me anymore. Like I'm washed up. I literally thought I was like, I like horse racing. So Barbados won the Kentucky Derby back in the 90s, and then he tore the equivalent of his ACL, and they put him to sleep as soon as his ACL was torn after winning the Triple Crown. And I was like, yeah, I wrote a poem. I was like, I'm literally Barbados. I was like, this sucks. Like I have no purpose outside of me playing on this field. I don't have an identity anymore. Like I don't know who I am. But there's two things that I took from that. One, if you're trying to save hundreds of people and change hundreds of people's lives, it's very difficult to emotionally attach to one person. So now as a founder, a lot of the kids that I used to be on the field with on a day-to-day basis are like, D-Lee, you don't be around no more. D-Lee, you went Hollywood. D-Lee, you're in Florida. You're always at this school, that school. And now I'm like, dang, am I in a microcosm? I'm kind of in the role that Coach Saban was in, where it's like my job is to coach the coaches. My job is to help the trainers understand how to develop you guys. I can't I can't I can't afford to do that. Like I want to, I would love to create those personal relationships with every single kid, but we scaled at this point. So I will never, I won't meet the kids from Houston, right? We did a camp with Jalen Milrow, so I got to meet some of them at that point, but I'm not going to have that long-term relationship with you. But I think it goes back to our biblical principles. You want to make disciples of men. So it's not about Donnie Lee, it's about the mission, right? So if Josh is in the DMV and he's moving on the same mission, on the same principles, then the group of kids that are under his tutelage are going to move in the same capacity. And so that's something that's really big for me. And then most importantly, man, just not finding my identity in ball. I tell people all the time, like football is a great sport, but it's a terrible God. Uh, Josh Mack, anybody that played with me during that time, you guys know that like football was a religion for a lot of us. It was a de facto religion for a lot of us. I studied my playbook a lot more than I studied my Bible, and it showed up with the way that my career ended. So I was at one of our schools that we're partnered with yesterday, Tuscaloosa Academy, and there's a kid named Evers Sykes. He plays linebacker, great kid. And Evers has dealt with a lot of reoccurring injuries over the last couple of months where he just hasn't been able to play. And so he told me yesterday, he's like, I think I'm done. Like, that's probably my last game. I'd be lucky to come back and play basketball. And I said, man, do you realize how blessed you are that you're not sitting here crying or in depression or locking yourself in a room because you didn't find your identity in that sport? You found it in God. And so now you don't feel as if I'm defined by what I did on the field or what I did not do. And this is a kid that played in the state championship as a linebacker, as a junior. And now he's preparing for life after ball, which for a lot of us, we didn't even think about a life after ball. We were taught by our coaches to say, forget a plan B. A plan B means you're planning to fail. And so that's one of the main things that I've learned from that.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I think a great lesson for really all young athletes wherever you're playing to take that there is a life. I mean, all three of us or all three of you guys are sitting right here, and you've built careers for yourself outside of football. But uh, looking at football, you obviously have a connection to this team, like you were talking about earlier. A lot of the athletes you've trained are playing on this team. Obviously, you're here, there, and everywhere on visits with your players, but looking at this team, obviously lost to Florida State, has won 7 in a row, including this past week, 4 of those against ranked opponents. What have you seen out of the Alabama team this season?
Man, so for one, I'll say I don't think we lost. I don't think we lost week one. I think we learned. That's something that I tell all of my kids: you win or you learn, but you never lose, right? And so I think that Florida State game was an amazing learning opportunity for us. I think that we came in behind the eight ball. We had no film of. I'm not making excuses. A learning lesson is a learning lesson, but when you don't have film on a team, it's very difficult to prep for them throughout fall camp. We got punched in the mouth and just couldn't. We played Florida State 10 times, and I want to throw this out there. My first cousin Trent Forrest is the most winningest basketball player at Florida State of all time. My first cousin, Amp Lee, also played at Florida State. Y'all got lucky, and I want to make sure I share this with them as well. Uh, but man, I think we've been really resilient since that week one game last year at 8A. I was with Milrow, and we were chopping it up about the future of the program, and he said something that really resonated with me and gave me a lot of faith in this team, despite what happened week one. He said, Donnie, Ty is the last Saban guy. He said, we're in good hands. He was like, I can't speak on what takes place after that. I think Austin Mack and Keelan Russell are all great quarterbacks. I think Trent and the other guys that just committed last week are going to be great quarterbacks, and they're guys that understand how much that script A means, right? Like Trent grew up training with Tua in Hawaii. He grew up training with Nalu and Talia in Hawaii. So like he understands how important that crimson is. It's not just a transactional commitment for him. But I think that's one of the biggest things, man, is just recognize, like Milrow said, he's a Saban guy. He operates off that Saban ideology. He operates off of Coach Saban's competitive integrity. I think that we're seeing Coach DeBoer grow into himself and not really focused on filling anybody else's shoes, but tying his own, right? Like he's winning in his own way. And so yeah, I love this. I love this ball club. Obviously, it makes me feel old because one of the kids that was in my first training group is playing running back, and I'm like, dang, Kevin, like this is wild. I'm really close with Trip Powell, who's over Alabama, and just things that we're doing on the field and off the field in terms of innovation, in terms of keeping ourselves competitive in this new landscape. Man, I love everything that we're doing with the Tide.
Yeah,
Love to hear.
obviously. Go ahead, Max.
I was just gonna say I love that Donnie was something that's cool is you talk about like Ty's the last guy of the Saban era, kind of like the last Saban guy. But I think it's cool. I've DM'd or messaged with a couple of guys who are on the team this year, and they're like, I'll get back like some love, B sci fi brother, like all this kind of thing, and it's like I don't know. It's I think it's coming back. Like I think some of those other guys are starting to realize what that script A means too. And that's like the thing that's most important is I think like coaching is going to change like over the years, but Alabama is Alabama for a reason, not because of the wins, the losses, but because of who Alabama is. And so I think it's special you brought that up, talking about that in your conversation with Milrow. But I think Donnie, what you got me fired up on is just like all the different quotes and then the personal thing, I think. And then also when you talk about football, like identity, like everyone struggles with that. I struggle with it a ton. And it's because of like you go to a university where Alabama from the fans, from like the media, from the restaurant owners, the bar owners, everything revolves around it. So it's very challenging. But I love what you're doing with the lab and helping these guys realize their identity is not in football. It's a part of their life, but it's not their life. So I admire the way you're doing that and love your what you're speaking on about it.
Oh, God is good. God is good.
Yeah, and speaking of identity outside of football, Josh, you have an interesting story with Donnie. He is part of the reason you met your wife, Bridget.
Yeah, I mean, Donnie knows we go way back, and I just want to say I'm so proud of you, man. Just seeing how we came in at the University of Alabama, training together, working together, all competing towards one common goal, and for us to start going our separate ways, and it's knowing that you have the lab, you have so many other things outside of football, and your faith towards God has grown tremendously. Like I'm so happy and I'm so grateful to have you as a friend in my life. And I just want to let you know I'm super proud, man. I'm super proud. But enough of that. Put the tears away,
It's
guys.
mutual. It's mutual. It's mutual.
But yeah, we have a great story, man. Like so, me and Donnie Lee used to kick it. So just one night, I was just stuck in my dorm, and I think there was an alpha party going on. So I just decided to go out, see Donnie Lee. He walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, look, I think somebody wants to talk to you." So I'm like, "All right, we got a little 2-on-2 action. I could be a nice little wingman." And so we head over, and so initially I'm thinking I'm talking to the girl that he's supposed to be talking to, and he walks up to her. I was like, "Oh, okay." And then like I introduced myself to my wife, and one thing led to another. And, I think me and Donnie Lee, we was like, hey, look, we're going to leave. We're going to go back to the dorm and, we're going to try to see what's going on. But, it ended up turning, Donnie Lee went off with his date. And I ended the date respectfully. I just got my wife's number and said, hey, look, we love speaking to you. I would like to see where things were going. Hey, here we are. It's probably 10 years now. Probably even more than that. 5 years married, 2 kids, and we're happy. We're in the DMV area living it up. So man, shout out to Donnie Lee for
Shout out to
the
God, man. And
alley.
that makes my heart happy, bro. That makes my heart happy.
Donnie, you
Yeah,
didn't even know that story, did you?
I see. I knew I connected them. Then when I think a couple years ago, and I seen they got married, I was like, that's wild. But it was, man, it's just as old as we are now, man. You know how it is.
At the
That's
time,
crazy.
D. Lee was focused on other things. He had his own game to play.
I did. I should have been at church. I should have been in God's playbook instead of my playbook. But we win or learn, you never lose. There we go.
That's for sure.
And Donnie, you have some interesting stories from your time at Alabama. Obviously, learned a lot and applying that to what you're doing now. But what's the big memory? One thing that really sticks out from your time at Alabama, whether it be something at practice, something in the locker room, something that sticks out from your time at Alabama.
For sure, man. Honestly, it seems very trivial, but it's something that has stuck with me for several years. So everyone knows this. And it's a little different now, but when we were at Bama, prior to any meeting where Coach Saban is addressing the team, say the meeting starts at 12 o'clock, people pretty much know to stop talking right at around 11:58. You got to be in there by 11:55. But Saban's going to walk in around 11:58, and it was amazing, like the sudden silence that you would hear the moment you seen his Oxford, like not even the full shoe, like the tip of his Oxfords come through, right? And everybody would just be complete silence. Uh, I'll never forget Devontae Smith said this one time. He said, "Man, it gets so quiet, you can hear a rat shit." And I was like, "Dang, bro, you're right." But someone said something. Someone uttered a single word, and Coach Saban heard this utterance, and so he walks up. He walks up to the stage, and he addresses us. Everybody knows this. He wore the same. I was very fascinated by the fact he wore the same 5 to 6 outfits, and he would just cycle them. But I realized as I got older, it was so he could eliminate decision fatigue. So he's like, if I can go ahead and just focus on minimalism, Steve Jobs does it. Steve Jobs did it. Bill Gates does it. Jeff Bezos does it as well. It started with Ryan Holiday and Stoicism. But he walks up, and someone spoke. Someone said something, and he did not like it. And so he goes, I just think it's funny that you guys want to talk when I'm talking, and I just left Coca-Cola and they just paid me $100,000 to speak for 30 minutes. So you might want to stop talking when I'm talking. And I remember sitting there and I'm like, Coca-Cola paid him what to talk for? How long? And so in that moment, man, I started realizing Coach Saban's not a football coach. Like he's not. Why would Coca-Cola be calling him in to consult and to talk to them? He's a businessman. And I think that's when I started recognizing like his portfolio with Mercedes, right? What he was doing with, is it Ferrari or Lamborghini? I can't remember which one it is. But I started recognizing what he was doing. I started studying Coach Saban as a businessman, not just as a coach. Like I started recognizing the fact that Coach Saban is the only human being that I personally know that has transcended the need of currency. He's not paying for food. He's not paying for a vehicle. He's wearing the same 5 to 7 outfits cyclically. What is he paying for? Like NIL is legal now, so I can say this, but I would go out to eat and I was barely paying. I still didn't pay for food. So I know Coach Saban isn't paying for food, right? And so it's like to me, I realized that there are things that transcend the dollar. There's a certain level of influence and a certain level of excellence that you can reach. The university paid for the house. You don't have a mortgage. What do you use the money for? Like at that point, you have literally reached a level of excellence that has transcended a dollar amount. And that, man, that's what I love about the opportunity we had to study under one of the greatest minds to walk this earth, in my opinion, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's automobiles, uh, the same process that his father taught him at that car wash, he taught us at a different level in a different niche. And I'm now trying to do that from someone who was a father figure to me. I'm trying to do that for this next generation. And I think we all are. Like Josh, you talked about the diaspora of college athletes. We run a 7v7 program each year, right? We're working constantly with our 501c3 to make it to where a lot of the kids that are good at 7v7, they can't afford to play 7v7, right? So we're constantly working to get sponsorships, to get donations. The city of Tuscaloosa is an annual sponsor for our foundation, so they help out a good bit. But I was talking to our staff yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, we need to go ahead and get our 7v7 helmets ordered. Like, let's go ahead and lock in on that. There's certain organizations that you have to utilize in order to be able to play in these tournaments." And so our director of operations reaches out and she says, "Donnie, you should talk to the person. They want to talk to you directly." And I was like, "No, mom, like you talk to him. Like my mom and the CEO, y'all talk to him." Well, no, they requested you specifically. They said they know you. And so I'm like, well, what's his name? It's Miller Forrestal. So y'all know Miller just retired like 2 years ago. He's like, "Yeah, man, I just finished up. I'm working with this company using my social capital, and he's making a killing." I was like, "Man, I just talked to Moore earlier. I should connect you guys. There's an opportunity for you to connect with them as well." And I say all that to say, man, like the B-Side Phi diaspora, we see Coach Saban's coaching diaspora with whether it's Cristobal, whether it's Kiffin, whether it's Sarkisian, we see that diaspora, but the diaspora of us as athletes, man, like we're lawyers, we're doctors, we're venture capitalists, we're creating podcasts, we're politicians. Like I pray to God that AJ McCarron becomes the Attorney General for the state of Alabama, like the Lieutenant General. I'm like, yeah, man, you got my vote wholeheartedly, man. Like that to me, that's what makes me so proud, man, and recognizing that we now have an opportunity to create in our own spaces something similar to what Coach Saban created. So man, I'm so proud of everybody that came through B-Side Phi and everyone that's coming through B-Side Phi.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's awesome whether it be coaching like Mac and Josh starting this podcast, you with the lab. It is really cool to see players doing things outside of the sport and just continuing their lives and continuing to instill what Saban and everyone else on that Bama coaching staff taught you guys. So very cool, Donnie. We appreciate you hopping on. Now you're gonna throw your hat in the ring, try to beat two other former Alabama football players, Slade Bolden and Christian Miller, with our guest rankings. Christian is in first at 5-3. Nick Kelly of AL.com is in second at 4-4, and Slade is bringing up the caboose. He's at 3-5. So you will go up against them. We have 8 games this week, wrapping up this past week for our show. Mac and Josh were both 7-1. Good week from you two last week.
That's
Had the
impressive.
exact
That's impressive.
they're texting before shows, Donnie, just to fill you in. They had the exact same board last week. They're texting to make me look bad. They're both 48-31 and 1 on the season, and I'm 42-37 and 1. So all three of us are on the positive, but they are
Oh,
blowing me out.
they teamed up
So
on you.
I've been saying the same for a couple weeks now, but it's okay. We'll see how this week
Josh
goes.
is just failing the sharp, man. Nah, he's
Oh,
falling the sharp,
whatever.
as they call me
Whatever.
these days.
I can
Mac the
go
sharp.
first. You can go first. The
Mac
pick.
the
Yeah,
knife, because
who
I'm
went
sharp
first
out
last
there,
week?
man. I went
I'll
first last week.
alternate. I'll alternate this week since you guys continue to just pick the same picks, and I'm going after you guys for every single pick this week. To be fair, I was 5-3 last week. So that brings us to this week's games. Obviously, no Alabama game. They have a bye. We'll play LSU out of the bye next week. First game, we have two non-SEC games. 17th ranked Cincinnati hits the road to play 24th ranked Utah. Utah, an 8.5 point favorite. So, Josh, I'm going to let you go first for this one.
think I'm gonna ride with
Utah.
Utah for sure. I like how they've been looking a little inconsistent. I think we had them on the board not too long ago,
Yeah,
earlier in the season.
the Holy War when they played the Storm and Mormons of BYU.
Yeah, so give me Utah 8.5. That's a little bit. I'll take them for the 8.5.
Mac,
Man, I will do this. This is kind of a toss up for me on the spread here. But I'm gonna
No.
do this to make things interesting this week. Give me the Bearcats. Shout out Jerome Ford, former Alabama running back and former Cincinnati running back, currently playing for the Cleveland Browns. You gotta love it. That's the only sole reason I'm going. No analysis, nothing. Give me Cincinnati to cover the spread 8.5.
I'll go. I'll go Utah with the 8.5. Donnie, what you got?
Oh man, I like Utah a lot. I'm a little biased 'cause I like Salt Lake City, but I feel like they've been playing some good football. They really bought into the program there. So I think they got things rolling. I'm gonna go with the Utes.
Yeah.
Next, all of us against Mac. Next one, Mac, you're going first for this one. USC, the 23rd ranked team in the nation, 6.5 point favorite in Lincoln, Nebraska, playing the Cornhuskers.
Give me the Trojans. The offense is pretty electric this year. And I think that, it's going to come down to if, um, shoot, I'm absolutely blanking right now.
Dylan Raiola, Nebraska. Matt Rule, Nebraska. What
Yeah,
are
I
you
know.
thinking
I
here?
know. Now it's giving me a little bit of that Raiola kid. He can play some ball. Um, God, this is tough. I mean, it's going to come down to, I think the spread's going to be whoever just wins the game, really.
Yeah.
I was
Now we
leaning.
know why he was throwing so much money on Baylor, by the way. This is his analysis.
Look, man, look at the statistics. You can see it. Okay. It's on the stat sheet. Um, you know what? We're going to do things. We're going to spice things up a little bit. I like to go more analytical with these games usually when I pick them. But you know what? You mentioned Rayola. Give me the Mahomes Jr.
Give
to
me
cover the
Mahomes
spread.
Jr.
Oh, wow.
Nebraska plus 6.5. Give it to me.
Josh?
I'm going USC on this one. I don't want to follow Mac. So USC, you said 6.5, so that's a
Yep.
touchdown. Yeah, I got USC covering.
Donnie, what you got?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I love shout out Doug Belk. Y'all know he was at Bama back when we were at Bama. He's coaching their secondary now. But man, ever since USC came out crawling when we played them week one in Texas, dog, I just have no faith in Southern California. I'm gonna go with little Patty Mahomes, man, with Rayola, dog. I like Nebraska, especially at Nebraska. I love that home game atmosphere. And yeah, just truly, I don't know if USC knows how to win on the road, man. So I'm gonna go with Nebraska on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Nebraska for the same reason. I'm not too high on them. Dylan Raiola, he looks like the best quarterback in the nation and then the worst. But I'm going to go with Nebraska defending home turf, at least covering that 6.5. Next one on the slate, first SEC game on the slate, a top 25 game. Ninth ranked Vanderbilt, Mac's favorite team, hitting the road to take on the 20th ranked Texas Longhorns. Texas, a 2.5 point favorite. Mac, I know you just went first, but it's Vanderbilt. I gotta give you the floor.
This is a tough one because I know we talked about it before, but I loved Coach Sarkisian. I think he's done a good job at Texas. We've seen Texas didn't come out looking like we thought they were going to come out this season. Arch Manning hasn't looked as good as we thought he would look. Their defense was pretty great in the last game. I mean, I can't fade the doors here, and I can't fade Diego Pavia. The guy talks the talk, but will he walk the walk this weekend? I'm going to bet on this game personally, and I'm going to take Vanderbilt to cover the freaking spread. Please, God, Diego Pavia, if you're going to talk and be about it, show up against Texas. Their defense is good, but just go out there, and I hope he does it big. If he doesn't, look, I don't know if I can trust him anymore, but I'm going to trust him with this pick. Give me the doors to cover the spread. Anchor down.
Josh, what you got?
What's the spread?
2.5. Texas the favorite
Okay. And they're playing where?
in Austin.
Holy, yeah. So this is really hard, and especially with the game. that Texas just played with Mississippi State. They fought hard back. I think they got into overtime and coming out with the win. So, you I almost feel like they're trying to get things on the right train. But I mean, Diego, that guy right there, he slings it, huh, Matt? He just hammers it in. So I'm gonna go with Texas. Them defending the turf and covering the 2.5 spread. I'm gonna switch it up.
Donnie, what you got? Texas a 2.5 point favorite versus Vanderbilt.
Man, I feel like we're kind of in like a new NFL, if you will, where it's like any given Saturday, right? That's how I look at college football. And one reoccurring narrative that I've noticed is that when teams kind of skirt by in a W, it's kind of more difficult for them to duplicate that. And so when you've got two teams that just barely got by with a win in the previous week, obviously we've seen how close Vandy's game was. That was absolutely insane. And then Texas as well. I'm gonna go with the Longhorns, man. Just because we're in Austin, we're in Texas. Like Max said, I think Steve Sarkisian is one of the greatest offensive minds in the world, and he knows how to win. At the end of the day, I love Coach Lee. I love the culture that they're building over there. I think that he's one of the smartest coaches in college football, not even just a sports perspective. Mac, you know this. The guy's a legit stoic. Like we exchange books more than we exchange like football stuff, and so I like Coach Lee a lot, but I'm gonna go with Sark, man. I'm gonna go with the Longhorns.
Either.
Yeah, I'm going Vanderbilt. I don't know what's going on with Arch. He got hurt, banged up in overtime of the Mississippi State game. Texas didn't look good. They looked good in that fourth quarter, ended up coming back to win, but Vanderbilt didn't really look great in the win over Missouri either. But I'll go with Vanderbilt on the road just because of the questions with Arch, and I think Vanderbilt's looked better recently. So next one, fifth ranked Georgia hitting the road, a 7.5. Or excuse me, not hitting the road. Is this one in Jacksonville or are they playing it? I don't know. Anyway, fifth ranked Georgia, 7.5 point favorite playing Florida. Florida first game without Billy Napier since firing him coming out of the bye week. I'm going to go with Georgia. I think they're just the better team, and I will kick it to Josh. Josh, what you got?
Give me Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. I think they've been phenomenal just about all year, whether they play on the road or at home. Florida losing Billy Napier, which is very tragic for me. He was my recruiter. I love the guy. Wishing him well. He's probably going to find a gig somewhere here. There's a lot of other coaching opportunities. So, but yeah, give me Georgia covering the spread.
Mac?
Yeah, as Josh mentioned Napier, Donnie and I got to spend some time with him as he was our wide receiver coach. But there's this trend that I think I talked about it last week. When a team loses a head coach, take UAB, shout out to Coach Mortensen, for example. That game after they lose the head coach, the troops rally. I don't know what it is. I don't know what causes it. There's not really any other analysis to it than that for me this weekend. I'm going to go with Florida to cover the freaking
This
spread.
is Georgia, though, Mac. I'm going to give you a second to pause and think
Nah.
about this. This is Georgia we're talking about.
Hey,
Kirby Smart, Georgia Bulldogs, and you're telling me a coachless team, Florida, who's been inconsistent. Yeah, they had a big win against Texas early on in the season, but you are seriously saying that these guys are going to win?
no. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm saying they're going to cover the spread,
Oh,
Josh.
okay,
You
okay,
either sit on the sidelines or you get out there on the field, and that's what I'm doing this time, Josh. I'm taking a risk. I'm taking a chance. Give me the Florida freaking Gators to cover the spread, buddy.
okay.
Donnie, what you got?
Man, Mac, you just hit that on the nail, bro. Like whenever the ability for a team to rally after having their head coach fired kind of scares me because if I'm not mistaken, will be LSU's first game since letting Kelly go, and I'm sure they did that intentionally. But man, I gotta rock with Josh on that one, bro. That's Kirby. You know what I'm saying? Like, Coach, we all know this Coach Kirby played is all the national championships we had at Bama during that time period. A lot of them are accredited to him. Obviously, like Jeremy Pruitt, those guys, but I think Kirby is one of the greatest players, coaches. He has a true ability to get his players to want to play for him. I was talking with Kamari Lassiter a couple weeks ago and his dad, and they were just talking about how he's going to continue to win in that space because, yeah, there's a transactional aspect, but he understands how to connect with kids. Very similar to Fran Brown up at Syracuse that came under Kirby's wing, and so which I think would be a playoff contender if he doesn't lose his starting quarterback. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Kirby. Schumann, y'all know how Schumann is, man,
Yeah.
defensively. I like Billy Gonzalez that's taking over as the interim head coach at Florida. But just a lot of turnover. I don't know if the culture is there yet at Florida. I'm gonna go with the Dogs. Go Dogs.
Yeah. Next one, and that one is in Jacksonville, by the way. What did they call it? The biggest darty or whatever they call it. They have a fun name for that one. And
Cocktail bowl or
Jekyll,
something like that.
that's what it is. Yes, yes, that's what it is. Mind is going all sorts of places after watching an 18 inning baseball game last night. Anyway, next one on the slate, Mississippi State getting embarrassed, blowing that late lead, hitting the road to come up near me at Arkansas. Arkansas, a 4.5 point favorite, another team without a head coach for this one. Mississippi State's a better team in my eyes. Arkansas got embarrassed at home this past week at Auburn. And it's kind of as Nick Kelly said when he was on, an embarrassed team is a dangerous team, and I think Mississippi State is the one that's a little dangerous on this one. Donnie, I'm going to let you go first. Mississippi State, a 4.5 point underdog at Arkansas.
Man, I'm a little biased on this one. One of my closest friends, like a little brother to me, Rob Lanier. Y'all, Mac, you played with Josh, so you know a lot of
Lotto.
his younger brother is starting at Mississippi State. He actually had two interceptions in the first half against Florida. Uh, man, I love what they're doing in that locker room, and I also know I can't speak on the other programs, but I know for a fact how God oriented that Mississippi State team is. Man, I think they're going to be resilient, and I think they'll win on Saturday significantly. And I think they're going to upset Ole Miss at the end of the year, man. That's my hot take, dog. I see Mississippi State upsetting a top three ranked Ole Miss team for the Egg Bowl.
Mm.
We'll have to, well, your
Turn back on.
standings will be off because you're throwing a future pick, and we'll have to update your standings at the end of the year. But
Come on.
Josh, I believe it is your turn to go first before Mac now.
Um, like I said, we talked about the Texas and Mississippi State game. They lost a big one. They led for majority of the game. I was pretty shocked. I had a little bit going on with that. I sent it to you guys, but yeah, I don't see them being able to put things together, get like a complete win on the road, especially with losing that big one at home. So give me Arkansas covering.
And Mac?
This is tough. I mean, good thing Donnie Lee isn't out there giving sports picks every week because I'm pretty sure it convinced me to take just about anything. But it's hard for me after what he was talking about Mississippi State and Lotto's brother playing there. It's like, damn, I was full on Arkansas. Now Donnie's putting the seed in my
You
head
got a
for
bias too
Mississippi
now. Come
State.
on.
He's calling this team to beat Ole Miss later in the season. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even think they were good. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, dude. I mean, I may as well toss a freaking coin if I had one over here to pick this game. Because initially, like I said, I was in Arkansas. I guess I'm just gonna stick with my gut here and go with Arkansas. We can't let Donnie Lee go before me any other time because I swear to you, it's gonna make every decision a little bit harder. But I'm gonna go with Arkansas to cover the spread.
Next one, Donnie just mentioned Ole Miss. Ole Miss ranked seventh in the nation, a 12.5 point favorite for South Carolina, a team Alabama just struggled with in Columbia. Trinidad Chambliss been playing really well. Beat the hell out of Oklahoma on the road. All three of us were on Ole Miss this past week, and I'm gonna stick with the Rebel train with Lane Kiffin, Joey Freshwater. Mac, what you got?
The South Carolina thought they were going to win it. They had the fans coming down there to storm the freaking field. Poor team didn't know what hit them. But I'm going to I think Ole Miss's offense is pretty electric, and they're not going to have, I don't think, the slow start that Alabama's offense did. But I just am going to have to go. It's a 12.5 is a lot of points. That's a lot of points. And South Carolina is a good ball club, and I think they've had some rough games this year, and I think they're going to bounce back this week. Give me South Carolina to cover the spread of 12.5.
Josh?
Mm. I'm taking Ole Miss, but I can tell you right now, I hope Coach Pete, defensive coordinator, does not see this. But that defense, the Ole Miss Rebels has been playing, has been a little terrible this year. So I'm going Ole Miss for sure, but I don't see them. I see it being a close game, closer than 12.5. So
So wait, so you're going with South
Oh,
Carolina,
South
not you
Carolina, my
said
bad.
you're going with Ole Miss, but you're going with South. Okay, so you're going with
Yeah,
South Carolina.
South
Okay,
Carolina.
Donnie, what you got?
I'm tired, man. It's been a long, long couple of days.
Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Ole Miss, man. Again, like I like what Kiffin and them are building down there. Uh, this is always hard for me because I'm biased. I've got a guy that starts at safety. TJ Banks is from Tuscaloosa, over at Ole Miss. Damian Taylor, who's one of the running backs, is at Ole Miss. But objectively speaking, I think that Ole Miss is a better football team, and I think they come out with the dub.
Next one on the slate, another ranked game, 18th ranked Oklahoma hitting the road to play the 14th ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee had a big win. Oklahoma coming off a big loss. Tennessee a 3.5 point favorite. And I'm going to go with the Vols. Josh, what say you?
Give me the Vols over Oklahoma. Oklahoma has had a pretty challenging schedule. I think they're a pretty good team, but Tennessee, this is something about them. I have a couple buddies up there. Bryson Easton, he plays defensive tackle. He feels pretty confident about the team and where they at. So give me the Vols winning and covering the spread.
Mac?
I'm gonna fade Josh here. This is could either be a major win week for me or a down in shambles, and burning in flames. But give me the Oklahoma Sooners to cover the spread.
And Donnie?
I'm gonna go with Josh's home state, man. I'm gonna take the Vols on this one, man. I'm rocking with Tennessee.
And our and our final game on the slate, a ugly game that I for one will not be watching. Kentucky at Auburn. Auburn a 10.5 point favorite. And simply put, I don't think Auburn is capable of winning a game by double digits unless it's an FCS opponent. So I'm going to go with Kentucky. Donnie, I'll let you take this one first.
I'm gonna go with Kentucky. I'm gonna go with Kentucky on that one as well.
Mac?
This could get rowdy, but I'm gonna go with the Tigers, man. I'm gonna go with the Auburn Tigers here.
Mm.
And Josh, wrap us up.
Like I said before, I've never picked Kentucky a day in my life. I hate that I'm riding with the Auburn Tigers, but I think they will for sure get this dub big at home. And I don't think we'll save Hugh Freeze from being on the chopping block. So
We'll see. It'll be an interesting week for our standings because you guys are against each other in quite a few games. You had the exact same board last week, a little different this week, so it'll be interesting to follow come Saturday. But Donnie, thank you very much for taking the time. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Pretty cool that all three of us are connected to you in our own different ways. So appreciate you hopping on.
Well, man, I appreciate y'all's time. Always a pleasure catching up.
Awesome. So Alabama, no game this week. They are on the bye. They'll play LSU, a head coachless LSU team, out of the bye in Bryant Denny Stadium in 2 weeks' time. We'll preview that one and much more coming up next week. But that'll do it for another episode of the M3 Show. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
uh,